Definitely, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. So, though I knew very well that after lunch it is difficult to have patience to listen to the unrelated topics that may not be that much interesting sometimes to you, right? And however, I had stopped here as to why the biodiversity is required. Now we shall see what is the value of biodiversity. Now, as I told you that an ecologist and economist, they have worked over a period of time and they could estimate what may be the importance of a tree that lives for 50 years. So a tree that is going to be living for 50 years is capable of providing you oxygen, which is estimated to be around 5.3 lakhs. So about 5.3 lakhs worth of oxygen is going to be given by a tree. Right. And it is going to facilitate about 6.4 lakhs worth of soil erosion control. That is, through its root system, it is going to bind the soil particles together. And it is also going to see that because of its canopy and foliage and the binding nature of the root system with respect to the soil binding. So it does not allow the top fertile soil being removed due to the wind erosion. So that's how a tree that lives for about 50 years is capable of preventing the soil erosion control, which is worth about 6.4 lakhs. Similarly, a tree can bring about the pollution control. How various pollutants that are given out from various activities of humans, including automobiles, industries, etc. Trees are the best biofilters of air pollutants. They will absorb all possible types of pollutants, and in spite of absorption of these pollutants, they are capable of giving you the oxygen. That means they are helpful in purifying the air. And the air pollution control would be worth about 10.5 lakhs. And a single tree that lives for 50 years is capable of producing shelter for birds, which is estimated to be around 5.3 lakhs. You know how to estimate for a 30 by 40 site house for one floor, ground floor, second floor, like that. Similarly, the manual labor that is going to be done, I mean, likewise, the labor that is going to be done by the birds and the time, the work, energy, everything, they could able to estimate it to be around 5.3 lakhs. There are various means and methods by which all these things are going to be calculated. And a tree that lives for about 50 years is capable of recycling the fertility of the soil. It is worth about 6.4 lakhs. That is, whenever the leaf litter, the dried branches, twigs, anything that is going to be falling on the substratum or the habitat or on the soil or the forest floor, they will undergo decomposition to form the humus and also the nutrients will be released back into the soil. So thereby the soil becomes fertile. So that fertility is that fertility of the soil is because of the addition of the nutrients, which is worth about 6.4 lakhs from a single tree. And besides, it can provide you, it can provide flower, fruits, and timber. And thus, when a tree that is going to be living for 50 years, if it is going to be cut or fell, it is worth about 33.9 lakhs. So, from a single tree that lives for 50 years, these are the minimum uses that we are getting from a tree. You just imagine in 1 hectare or in one area, if you can grow as many trees as possible, what would be its worth? And if you look at the present statistics with respect to the number of trees that are present across the different countries, just example I am citing here, India has a tree population of about 35 billion trees, leading to just 28 trees per person. India is ranking number one and it is having just 28 trees per person. And if you compare the same thing with respect to the people of Brazil, they are having about 1,494 trees per person. They have got about 301 billion trees. And in Canada, they are having about 8,953 per person, having a total of 318 billion trees in their region. And China is having about 102 trees per person. It is only in India we are having very less number of trees per person. What may be the reason? The reason is because we are more interested and good at exploiting rather than growing, right? Rather than growing the trees and making it being available for the future generation, we are good at the present only for consumption, not for production. And also, because of rapid urbanization and industrialization, along with the greediness of the mankind, so we do have very less trees per person. We know that forests are the one which is capable of providing the ample supply of the water through various water bodies. So greater the forest, greater will be the chances for precipitation and the availability of water. So world over, about 1/3 of the world's largest cities are going to be provided with the water facilities by the forests only. And around 1/3 of the world population, say for example, about 2.4 billion people still make use of the wood for cooking, boiling water and heating. By burning, they are going to be doing all these things. So thus, we are seeing here that the trees are going to have a profound usefulness to mankind and a greater significance to mankind as they provide energy sources, food resources, water resources, medicinal resources. Likewise, they provide greater services to mankind. And through pollution, every year more than 2.4 to 2.8 billion tons of carbon dioxide is loaded into the atmosphere. And forests are capable of absorbing roughly around 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. So we know that carbon dioxide, if at all is going to be thrown into the atmosphere, so it is going to be resulting in global warming and climate change. So, but to see that such an impact should not be there, you should grow more and more forests. You should have more and more vegetation. So these forests or the plants are capable of absorbing, as I told you, about 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. And an estimated of 50% of the fruit that we eat is coming from the trees alone. About 50% of the fruit that we are eating across the world is coming from the trees only. Now, if this biodiversity is going to be reduced, if forests are going to be cut, if there is deforestation activity, and if the vegetative cover is reduced, so what will happen? What is the changes that we can see in our environment? The first and the foremost thing is that global warming takes place. That means when the vegetative cover or the trees are going to be cut, the concentration of carbon dioxide increases in the atmosphere. Because if the vegetative cover is to a greater extent, they are capable of absorbing the carbon dioxide, including during photosynthesis. But when the vegetative cover of the plants is going to be destroyed, the carbon dioxide is not going to be sink into the biosphere or into the plants. As a result of which, the carbon dioxide concentration increases in the atmosphere. When carbon dioxide concentration increases, automatically the temperature of the earth increases. Why the temperature of the earth increases? Because whatever the solar radiations that are striking the earth's surface, when they are reflected back, they should escape out of the atmosphere. But these carbon dioxide molecules, which have been increased in their concentration in the atmosphere, so they act as barriers. They act as barriers for the outgoing of the solar radiations. So when these solar radiations, after striking the Earth's surface, they are reflected back, they strike the carbon dioxide layer or carbon dioxide molecule and get re-radiated back to the Earth's surface. So because of this continuous radiation and re-radiation, you know that solar radiations will carry always the heat energy or high energy molecules. So the heat energy of the radiations is going to be absorbed by the Earth's surface, so that the Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere layer gets heated up, warmed up. That is what you call it as the global warming. It is not only the carbon dioxide is a major culprit for causing this global warming and greenhouse effect, what we say. But there are other gaseous components like methane gas, for example. And I told you in the morning that we are ranking number 1 in cattle population. The dung that is released from the cattle, that is the excretory materials. So from that, whenever it is going to be disposed on the land surface by the methanogenic bacteria, it is going to release the methane gas into the atmosphere. So methane is another global warming causing agent. Now, in addition to that, water vapors and oxides of nitrogen that are released from the industries also contribute to the global warming. And we have heard about ozone depletion, isn't it? Ozone is a gas. If it is in the stratosphere, where the stratosphere will be? Say, from the Earth's surface up to a distance of around 40 kilometers, we call it as troposphere. Above the troposphere, the next immediate region up to a distance of about 20 kilometers, we call it as stratosphere. So, if this in the stratosphere ozone layer is there, it is a friendly layer. It is an eco-friendly layer because it is going to absorb all the dangerous ultraviolet radiations from the sun and does not allow the radiations to strike the Earth's surface. These ozone molecules, whenever they are present in the stratosphere. But the same ozone, if it is present nearer the Earth's surface, that is in the troposphere, it is a dangerous layer. Because it is a dangerous layer because it, along with other certain chemicals, it is going to form photochemical smog, a dangerous, right? Once again, a cloudy appearance. Smog is going to be formed along with like chemicals like peroxyacetyl nitrate, we say scientifically, PON. So with that chemical ozone in presence of UV radiations form photochemical smog, which is never for the betterment of the people. So thus ozone, if it is nearer the troposphere, it is a dangerous layer. If it is in the stratosphere, it is an eco-friendly layer, wherein it is going to filter out all the UV radiations and prevent UV radiations being striking the plants, animals, including human beings. If UV radiations, if you are going to be exposed, so there is a chance that you may get cancer, skin cancer, eye problem, cataract problem, like that. All these things will be developed. Now, whenever that ozone layer is depleted in the stratosphere, UV radiations strike the surface. That is also responsible for the what? Increasing the temperature of the Earth's surface, causing global warming. So thus, how this ozone layer is going to be depleted? Ozone layer is going to be depleted because of certain substances that we are releasing into the atmosphere. And that is also anthropogenic activities. We know that we are all using refrigerators, air coolers, air conditioners. So from each refrigerator, air cooler, air conditioner, there will be the release of certain chemicals like CFCs, we say, chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. These chemicals, whenever they are going to be released into the environment and they reach the atmosphere, they damage the ozone molecule. They damage the ozone molecule. If one molecule of CFC is released into the environment or atmosphere, it can damage about 1 lakh molecule of ozone. It can damage about 1 lakh molecule of ozone. So that is why we should not use the refrigerators, air coolers, air conditioners, which release such certain chemical substances which can damage the ozone layer. If all the ozone layer gets damaged, most of the population are sure of getting the skin cancer, cataract, eye problems, and mutations, genetic changes. All these havocs are going to be there. But nature somehow has found out its own device of protecting all the living entities. But it is the mankind who is greatly involved in the destruction of this ozone layer by the usage of these air coolers, air conditioners, refrigerators, etc. So, thus, ozone depleting substances should not be released into the atmosphere. Otherwise, it will cause global warming, and which in turn also results in climate change. Now, whenever the plants or the deforestation activity is going to be carried out, right? So, what happens when the tree cover is not there? Foliage, that means the leaves are not there. Now, they do not absorb most of the pollutants that are going to be released into the atmosphere by mankind, so that there will be an increased rate of pollution. And if there is the decrease in the biodiversity, soil erosion cannot be controlled. Even the fertility of the soil is also going to be lost. How? Say, for example, there is a forest area. You cut all the trees. So when you cut all the trees, the soil get exposed. When the soil get exposed, either by flooding or by wind activity, that is, the topsoil is going to be eroded from one region to elsewhere. So because of high wind velocities like hurricane or cyclone or breeze, something like that, you are going to see the what? Top fertile soil is going to be removed. So when the top fertile soil is going to be removed in that area, it does not support the growth of the plants or vegetation. So thus, if there is a reduction in biodiversity, like trees, plants, so they cannot bind the soil together through their root system, so that the soil gets eroded and the fertility of the soil is going to be altered. Change. It is not at all there. It may become sand, it may become desert. So how desertification is going to be formed even in such areas where the deforestation activity is taking place at a high rate. Now, likewise, we can also see that decomposition rate by microbes is altered. Microorganisms, you know that it consists of bacteria, fungi, and some other organisms which are what? Very, very minute in their sizes. Now, these organisms bring about the decomposition. That is, whenever any organism or any plant or an animal is going to die, it is subjected to the action of death, decay and decomposition by the microorganisms like bacteria. Now, to carry out this decomposition rate also, it requires certain temperature. At a particular temperature, at a particular environmental conditions, these bacteria will be very, very active. They bring about such decomposition. Suppose the temperature is increased, what happens? The population of these decomposing bacteria is also going to be either decreased or they become inactive. So if they become inactivated, they cannot bring about the decomposition. See, the body temperature of a normal human being is around 98.4 degree, isn't it, Fahrenheit? If there is a 0.1 degree or 1 degree of temperature rise in your body, you feel that you are having a fever. So you will not be working comfortably. You are not be active comfortably. Similarly, if the body temperature is reduced below 98.4 degree, so what happens? You feel that you are feeling cold or chilly, and you will be shivering. You feel that you cannot carry out your normal activity. Now just imagine the microorganisms which are highly sensitive to the temperature, and when the temperature is altered due to global warming, so the decomposition rate of the microbes is also going to be altered. So in the sense, very high temperature does not support the decomposition rate. So at that time, what happens? Your dead bodies will be piled up one above the other. So if there is no even if there is extreme temperature, the microbes or the bacteria may die also, right? So when such decomposing bacteria are going to be inactivated or die or their population decrease, they cannot carry out the decomposition. When they cannot carry out the decomposition of the dead organisms, dead plants or animals, etc., they get piled up in the environment. So it will be easy if you change the temperature, global warming and climate change, if you are going to be resulted, because we can see from generations together, oh, a day may come, oh, this is my grandfather's dead body, this is my father's dead body, this is my dead body, like your children, grandchildren can see. That means it is going to be piled up without getting decomposed. That will happen if there is an increase in the temperature or global warming. And nutrient cycling is also getting altered. That means utilization of nutrients from the soil, using the same for their growth and development, and after completing the life cycle, they have to be released back into the environment. Even that rate of nutrient cycling also get disturbed. And if there is lesser biodiversity, there will be no evolution, because a good genetic pool, gene pool is not going to be available. If there is a reduction in biodiversity, means there will be a reduction in gene pool. Why gene pool is necessary? To have a greater vigor, a greater hybridity, a greater adaptive character, a greater, stronger characters which can sustain in the varied conditions of the environment. So for that, we should have greater biodiversity. It is as simple as like that. When you want to select your partner, you will be having so many parameters. Oh, you want a thin girl, you want a medium-sized girl, you want a white girl, you want a black girl, you want a vintage girl, your height should be this much. You have got so many parameters when you want to select a partner. How it is going to be provided? If there are many choices of selection of a girl or a boy, please don't talk in between. I will stop it. Please, whoever it may be, please don't, because it will be a very much audible for me very strongly here in the room. So, the greater the gene pool, greater will be the what? Chances for your what? Choice to select your partner, produce the young ones. Likewise, every living entity is capable of going for this choice. So even in plants also this choice will be there. Pollen grains, all pollen grains will not fall onto the same all the plants, and all the plants do not get fertilized by the pollen of all the plants. So there will be choice. So to have this choice, there should be a greater gene pool. If there is a greater gene pool, greater will be the stronger character in the hybrid or the offsprings which can sustain. So a new species may be born, a new individual may be born. Likewise, if there is reduction, it is going to affect the arrival of the new species. Food chain is going to be altered. So whenever there is high temperature, even plants do not photosynthesize. The photosynthetic activity stops. So when the photosynthetic activity stops, food production is going to be stopped. When fruit production is going to be stopped, automatically the animals, including humans who are dependent upon the plants, they will be at stake for their life, isn't it? Their life will be at stake. And likewise, the food chain in the ecosystem gets affected. And suppose there will be no sufficient amount of plants for the deer, the population of deer decreases. If there is no sufficient food of deer for the tiger population decreases. Like here, one organism is dependent upon another organism in this food chain in any ecosystem. Then alteration in hydrologic cycle. That means hydrologic cycle is, in simple words, it is also called water cycle. It is also called water cycle. Water gets evaporated from various water bodies like pools, ponds, lakes, rivers, oceans, etc. into the atmosphere. Even from the plants through a process called transpiration. That is the removal of water, excess of water in the form of water vapors through the plant surface, through the leaves, stem, etc. We call it as transpiration. So evaporation and transpiration is helpful in releasing the water vapors into the atmosphere. They go to the atmosphere, there they get condensed, and that condensed water once again change because of change in temperature and other climatic factors. It reaches to the earth as precipitation or rainfall. And once again, when the rainfall is there, all the water will be held in the soil and water bodies. Once again, it will be absorption. Once again, it will be growth and development. Once again, so thus, it is a continuous phenomenon wherein through evaporation and transpiration, water will be released in the form of vapors to the atmosphere, get condensed there, and reach back to the earth's surface as the rainfall. So this cycle, we call it as hydrologic cycle. Scientifically, it is estimated by the scientists that If at all you want to have a normal rainfall in any area, about water should evaporate from about 85,000 cubic miles of oceans every year, and from about 15,000 square kilometers of land surfaces, the water should evaporate both through plants and water bodies. So, no, what is that? This is the problem. No, I will tell you, honestly speaking, this online program will give a lot of disturbance both to the resource persons and also the persons who are really interested in learning about or knowing about something and being teachers. If you are in a classroom, you could have understood when the students get a lot of disturbances, how your teaching is going to be affected. Anyhow, okay, fine. With these things, we are going to see the various, that means how reduction in biodiversity can bring about all these changes. Now, as on today, the recently estimated carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is about 425.40 ppm. And the same in the year 2023 was 421.86 ppm. And in the year 2000, its concentration was 200 in the year 1900, its concentration was about 280 ppm. See, in 1900, it was 280 ppm. Now, in the span of just almost 100 years, so its concentration is doubled. So, how much of carbon dioxide concentration is increasing? Now, if this at this rate, if carbon dioxide is going to increase, that is why climate scientists, that is the scientists working on global warming, climatology, etc., they have established very well that by 2050, most of the countries, especially the coastal areas, the coastal cities will submerge. Why it will be submerging? Because an increased temperature bring about the melting of the ice and polar ice caps. The melted water joins the sea so that the sea level rises. When the sea level rises, the land mass will submerge. So this is going to happen. It has been projected by 2050. Probably you may not be able to see coastal cities like Bombay, Mangalore, etc. because they are going to be submerging if the present rate, present trend of the temperature increase, if you look at it. The same thing was predicted even about 25 years back. Even like the same way, whatever that I'm telling today, I was telling that so there will be an increase in temperature. As on today, the Earth's surface temperature is increased by about, as an average, 1.8 degrees Celsius. 1.8 degrees Celsius. So it may rise up to 4.5 degrees to 9 degrees Celsius by the end of 2050 to 2100. So you just imagine when such changes are going to take place in the environment, the survival of the human population and many plant and animal species so become very, very what? Crucial. That means they may not be able to survive. It will be, they will be at stake. So what will you leave for the future generation, if at all with the present rate of changes that you can see? So that is why one should not what? Cause pollution or disturb the environment, and we should not release any of the substances which can what we can say affect the human beings life. It is not only the human beings life, even the plant and animal life. Now, what are such threats that we are giving to the biodiversity? Number one is deforestation and overgrazing. So we are indiscriminately cutting the trees to a greater extent without bothering about the importance of these trees. And overgrazing, cattle. We know that cattle population is very high. We allow them to wherever, whether it is a cropland or a forest land, we allow them to graze. So whenever they graze, the young plants, young shoots, the plants will never grow because every developing or growing plant at its tip, it will be having certain group of cells, tiny units, which are actively dividing to produce various parts of the plant. So then that is going to be perished. Automatically, the plants will not grow. So thus, deforestation and overgrazing will lead to the depletion of biodiversity. Habitat destruction and fragmentation. Whatever the land that is meant for the, say, a particular cause or for a particular purpose should be utilized for that same only. For example, housing construction or industrial for industry purposes, they have kept C and D lands according to the forest department. You will come across A, B, C, D land, etc. A and B lands are categorized as the fertile lands meant for agriculture only. So those lands should not be used for the construction purposes of either the residences or the houses or for any other industrial purposes. But today what we are doing is that this habitat has been what? Utilized in a different way, isn't it? We are converting all the fertile land into the cement jungles, concrete buildings we are establishing. As a result of which, whatever the land that is meant for productivity, that is production, is getting decreased. The demand for food is increasing. The productivity is decreasing. The land availability is getting limited because you are using even the fertile land for the establishment of industries, establishment of hydroelectric projects. Like that, you are cutting, you are disturbing the entire habitat meant for a specific purpose. And added to that, you are fragmenting the land. No, fragmentation is the one. You see, simple way to say is that if there is 1 acre of land, if there is 1 acre of land, you assume that you are growing paddy. So the productivity will be, say, 100 kg, 100 bags of rice will be there, 100 bags of rice will be there. Suppose you are having 2 children, you divide it among your 2 children in course of time, that 1 acre of land. What they will do when you divide? They put once again the boundary, earmark the boundary, half an acre and half an acre. So they may grow or they may not grow. Assuming that even then they grow, still the productivity decreases. Because in the divided land, they will be having their boundaries being earmarked and they put fencing and other things. Okay. And each of them in turn is having 2 children. So they will be having 1/4 of the land, 1/4 of the land. So likewise, if we keep on fragmenting the land, whether the productivity increases or decreases, it is going to automatically decrease. Now, in a similar way, the habitat meant for the vegetation, the forest, right, should not be fragmented, should not be fragmented. Otherwise, the productivity of the forest decreases. Poaching and hunting for flesh, fur, skin, hair, nail, and recreation, they are also taking. We are seeing the loss of biodiversity even because of such type of activity, poaching and hunting. So all these things in the international market, so smugglers, these poachers, hunters, they are all doing all these things to mint money. For example, in the year 1900, there were about 40,000 tigers in India in the year 1900. By about 1972, their population has come down to around 4,800 plus, somewhere around 4,000 plus, by in a span of just 72 years. And then all the scientists who are working and the people, forest lovers who are all interested, they started bringing why this population of tiger is decreasing. They could make a study and they could find out that most of these tigers are being killed in India and their parts are going to be sold to other countries, especially in Indonesian system and Chinese system of medicinal practices. They use every part of this tiger for various purposes, for preparation of various medicines. For example, the nose of a tiger, the Chinese system and Indonesian system, they prepare a medicine that is used to cure epilepsy. In Kannada, we call Kushtaroga, right? The testis of the tiger is going to be made use of in preparation of a, what we can say, medicine that is used to cure the tuberculosis of lymph nodes in human beings. Tuberculosis, TB kale. So the cure ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ lymph nodes, they are using that medicine prepared out of the testis of the tiger. The hairs present on the tiger, they used to prepare a medicine which is used to cure burns, ಸುಟ್ಟ ಗಾಯಗಳನ್ನ cure ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ. And there are certain, say for example, the brain of the tiger, they used to take and prepare a medicine wherein that medicine is used to cure pimples and avoid laziness among the individuals. And the bones of the tiger, the bone powder of the tiger used to be taken, and they used to prepare a medicine that is used to cure arthritis, joint pains, and other rheumatoid problems. So likewise, every part of the tiger was of medicinal importance. So that is why they used to kill this animal and used to sell it. And today I will tell you 1 gram tiger bone powder in the international market as of today costs about 550 US dollars. 1 gram tiger bone powder will cost about 550 US dollars as an average. And as an average, if you estimate, a single tiger can give you 11 kg of bones. A single tiger can give you 11 kg of bones. So 11 kg of bones into grams into $550 into Indian rupees. You calculate how much it will be for single tiger bones only. Other than bones, there are other parts which are of high marketing value for preparation of medicine. That is how the population of the tiger has come down. Thank God at that time, in the year 1972-73, when they brought it to the notice of the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, she declared the tiger as a national animal and started this Project Tiger. She could encourage. That's how 1973, this Project Tiger to protect the tiger has come into picture. Now, likewise, for example, ivory of the elephant, 1 kg of ivory today will cost about 2,500 to $3,000, right, in international market. One horn of rhinoceros runs into 800 US dollars, right? So, likewise, because of their greediness, the people started killing and selling. So, such activities they could destroy many of the wildlife. That's how biodiversity is getting decreased. And one should not smoke in the forest. So one should be careful here to see that they should not be negligent while smoking. Even if they smoke, they should carefully tend the cigars or BDs, etc., and then throw it. Without caring for that, anyone, I am walking in a forest, why should I bother about? They will simply throw it indiscriminately. And another way of getting forest fire is that there will be campfire. We go for a picnic along with your students, and they will do this campfire, etc. And without carefully tending the fire, they will return. And if it is a summer season, if there is a mild breeze, the fire gets spread to the other regions and thereby destroy the entire flora and fauna. So there are small, tiny organisms, herbaceous plants, right? All these things get roasted, destroyed totally. So that is how the forest fire is going to be taking place. Sometimes intentional forest fire also will be there. In the forest department, actually, I've seen because of this hierarchical, what we can say, prestige or something else like that. For example, you note in a forest department, there will be guards, forest guards. Above him, there is a forester. Above him, there is a range forest officer. Above him, ACF, DFO, conservator, like this will be there. And especially when they are being allotted a specific territory, sometimes the higher authorities will boss over the lower staff members without respect. Without respect. In fact, I have seen they use filthy language. They use filthy language to address the lower people. But they are also having the respect. So the self-respect of every individual should be respected. That they won't do it. So what they will do when their self-respect is going to be affected, they apply leave for specific day, and they themselves will encourage lighting the fire in a forest, to take revenge against the higher authorities. And if a higher authorities call them for tending the fire, they say, sir, today I am on leave, I am not feeling well, I don't come. With this intentional forest fire also, we are losing biodiversity. And sometimes these poachers or hunters, what they will do, so at one end, they will lit the fire, they draw the attention of all the forest people and other officials towards that direction, and in the opposite direction, they will smuggle away or kill away the wild animals and take away the things, whatever that they want. So with all these things, ultimately, the forest gets destroyed. So this is how forest fire is going to take out, and many plants have taken millions of years for come to exist on this earth during evolution. So they will be lost. Then another means by which we are going to we are losing biodiversity is over exploitation of the resources. Right? Over exploitation. With whatever that is there, we are not going to be happy. We want to have greediness. We want to accumulate as much as possible. See, for example, rosewood. Rose would take about 80 to 100 years or more than that to mature, right from its growth from seed to seedling and then to mature and to give you the best possible rosewood. India is the home of such genetically superior rosewood species once upon a time, right? Especially Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, right? This was best superior rosewoods used to be, they used to cut it and they used to market, sell it. So illegal smuggling and selling and all these activities were carried out by certain people. Okay, so what happens is that today, if at all you want to grow a rosewood plant, it takes about 100 to 120 years time, and by the time it is going to mature, you may not be living also, because average lifespan of it today, an Indian is around 62 years. Right. So that is why instead of judiciously using this rosewood, today what we are doing, if somebody brings rosewood, come on, I want rosewood the dining table, rosewood furniture, rosewood front door, back door. Likewise, rosewood or teakwood. Like that, we are going to, at least teakwood is a fast growing tree species, but rosewood is a very slow growing tree species. Right. So such costliest wood, we are going to keep it in our home, especially for the front door and back door. What for? Sir, no thief should enter into our house, isn't it? But you are the greatest thief who have taken this rosewood from the natural forest, which is not your property. That is why now they have made it mandatory that without the prior permission from the government, you are not supposed to cut a tree of rosewood for any purpose. Now, likewise, over exploitation. You are going to, you take any resource for that matter, whether it is a land resource or a mineral resource. Why you want gold? You have extracted gold from KGF. What for you require gold? Tell me, what for you people require gold? To make jewelry. How much of jewelry you want to wear? Sorry for the ladies. They wear all possible ornaments, right? On their what? Neck, head, ears, everywhere. So wearing all these jewelry, you will be going to attend a function and you will be in endangered state and your parents will be still endangered till you return. Likewise, but you have endangered that gold in the Kolar gold fields or any other area. What is the need for that? So one ornament, one necklace, one bangle, okay. And gents are also being fascinated. Nowadays they are wearing what? Bracelets. Shortly the belts may come made of gold. The reason is because if you leave the gold as it is in nature, as in the earth crust, in traces, they are required for the survival of all the plant and animal species. They are the one which are going to develop or give you the immune power to many of the organisms, and in traces they are required for various vital metabolic activities of the plants and animals. You might have been experienced that when the child is very young, their grandfather or grandpa, they will normally advocate them to take this golden what we can say, the string like something, and they make a paste of it and make the child to what? Lick it. Swarna Prashanam, it is called. Swarna Prashanam, they will do it. Why they do it? Because the child should develop immunity and the child should have resistance to any of the pathogenic diseases. So it has got its own medicinal value, gold. So that should be left as it is in the earth crust. Only a little quantity, if at all, you require, okay, for your traditional purpose or for your wearing the necklace or thali, something like that, it's okay. But today, people are having greediness to that extent that till the gold is going to be exhausted from its natural earth, they don't leave it. So that is called over exploitation of the resources. Natural calamities like flood, high wind velocities, earthquakes, cyclones, tsunamis, they damage the entire thing, and there'll be no barrier for them, whether you are a plant or an animal, to which group, which community, which religion you belong, irrespective of the region, it will whitewash everything. So that is how even biodiversity is also going to be affected. And pollution of all possible kinds. air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, all these things may also lead to the depletion of biodiversity or decrease in biodiversity. And see, when the forest trees are cut, the topsoil get eroded, and there will be no loss of, and there will be no nutrients, and there will be loss of soil nutrients. It does not support the growth of the plants. According to Tata Energy Research Institute, they have released a bulletin. Every year in India, about 5,300 million tons of fertile soil is eroded. About 5,300 million tons of fertile soil is removed, right? Because of what? Deforestation activity and mining activities and quarrying, So when that is going to be carried, one thing, you are going to destroy the forest. And when you are doing this activity, the dust and other things that is going to be released, if they get deposited or coated on the plant surface or on the vegetation or on the leaf, they never capable of repairing the fruit. Fruit will not be there. Growth and development of the plant will be there. So it will automatically die. So thus, you are going to lose the biodiversity. Now, another reason for all these things is the population pressure and unequal distribution of the resources. Whatever that we are having, we are not judiciously managing our resources. Here it has become very common that haves will always suppress the have-nots. Until and unless this gap is going to be narrowed down, so we cannot protect our resources. And as I told you, construction of hydroelectric power projects is also greatly responsible for the depletion of biodiversity. And I don't know why these people are mainly interested in construction of any of these projects only in a forest area, because they're so foolish that they want every resources, and they say in terms of economy, it is easily working out that way, this way they are going to say. Likewise, I'm seeing here Yettinolaya, that project, this project, they all. So instead of spending crores of rupees on establishment of all those things, they could have converted the wasteland into a green land. They could have converted the wasteland into a green land, and they could have made the hydrologic cycle to be normal, and they could have got the rainfall. These things we do not think. We just think only what? Like keeping everything. A day may come. Even to have a bath, you should collect distillery water bottle like. To that extent, you may feel. There may be a water war between different states and different people. Then agricultural expansion, encroachment of the land in the forest area for agricultural purposes. Because you are increasing in your population, your land is not increasing. So the easily available land is go and settle on the margins of the forest, and slowly you start encroaching the forest land for cultivation of the crops. Today you will grow quarter an acre, gradually you will increase it to half an acre. Likewise, you want to consume. And when you keep on destroying the habitat or home of the wildlife, wild animals, that is the forest, automatically the wild animals will enter into the urban area in search of food and water. And you will start making, oh, hue and cry, oh, elephant has entered, leopard has entered, kill it, kill it, kill it, like. But you just imagine when you have destroyed their food resources, their sheltering resources, what right you are having to kill an animal? My question. So if you are having the ability or the right to do all these things, animals are also having the equal right to kill upon you or your children or anybody else in any vicinity. Why should you shoot at them? Now, this is how wildlife animal, that is animal and human conflict have taken place. So this is once again, right, another reason as to how we are losing biodiversity. Spreading urbanization and establishment of industries. So about in the year 1900, suppose I say I am staying in Mysore now. So in the year 2000, almost I can say 1990, somewhere when I landed in Mysore, this Bogadi area is all having almost all forested area. Bogadi area, Datgaldi area, and all those things, but they were all forested. There was not even a single house. But today, if you see, there will be no vegetation, no cropland, no trees. Everything is concrete jungles. So to that extent, we have urbanized. Climatic changes like depletion of ozone, global warming, increased carbon dioxide, all these things are going to be resulting in the loss of biodiversity. They are all the threats to biodiversity. Now, we always say we should protect biodiversity, right? All these things. And we say people are doing these things. We are not doing it. We should create awareness among the people about the importance of biodiversity, we say. For whom we should create awareness? That is the question. For whom we should create that awareness? Everybody say, I am not interested. I do not cut the tree. I do not use the tree. You cannot say like that. Directly or indirectly, you are all using, we are all using the products of biodiversity. So it must be the bound duty of each and every individual to be awakened about the importance of biodiversity and disseminate the information and knowledge related to the importance of biodiversity to the fellow persons in our vicinity. Now, if this much of threats are there, then what are the solutions to all these problems? Just I will brief up. So you should protect the habitat integrity. Whatever the land that is meant for a specific purpose, it should be used only for that specific purpose, and you should not either disturb the habitat integrity or you should not disturb the productivity of the habitat or anything like that, so that a desired species can grow and flourish very well. So that should be taken. So what is conservation measure? So in order to see that these plants and animals should be available for the future generation, we should protect them without harming them. So that is what is the, so various conservation measures. So by controlling forest fire, so we should not encourage the forest fire directly or indirectly. So that should be what? Taken care. Campfire and thrash fire should be carefully tended and thoroughly extinguished. Excessive cutting should be eliminated. So unnecessarily, right? Whatever that is required for today, keep only that much of the materials with you. So thinking of future, we are having this tendency. Even you are not married, you want to keep one site and one land for your wife, then for children, and before even they have not yet born, you want to keep all the rosewood, teak wood, everything in stock in your backyard. So this is the attitude. So don't do it. Leave them as it is in nature. As long as you are living, whatever that is required, only that much you can use it. Right? So that we do not do. So we keep on what? Cutting excessively for various purposes. And once, even if you cut it or even if you use it, you should have the consciousness of raising the new seedlings to replace the harvested trees or the plants. Fragmentation of the forest area or wildlife should not be encouraged because it decreases the biodiversity. Protection of forest from illicit felling and overgrazing. So, illegally, you should not carry out any of these activities. And of course, establishment and maintenance of germplasm bank. Germplasm bank means it is like any material like a seed or a stem cutting or a root material or a shoot material by which you can grow another plant. So those multiplying units are called germplasm. Multiplying units are called germplasm. So you have to establish such type of germplasm banks so that as and when required, you can use them for multiplication and production. So that should be encouraged. If principles and procedures of social forestry is followed. So what is social forestry? Social forestry is nothing but greening of the earth. It is sometimes also referred to as Vanamohotsav, you will say, Vanamohotsav. See, the concept of the social forestry is so beautiful. Westoby, a scientist, has really beautifully explained the meaning and definition of the social forestry. It is nothing but a concept that is aimed at growing of the tree crops in a wasteland in the vicinity of people owing to their requirements. Say, suppose in your area, you are having a wasteland, your requirement is for firewood, you must grow the firewood species. so that you need not have to go to a forest and cut the trees. Suppose your requirement is for fodder, grow such type of plants which can give you the fodder. Suppose your need is for fruit, grow fruit plants in your vicinity, so that you can minimize the pressure on such type of plants in the natural forest. And actually, in India, we are having about more than 6.83 million hectares of the wastelands. And if all these wasteland are going to be converted into a productive land, definitely we are going to have a good vegetative cover that we are not practicing. Even our educational institutions and other places, what we do, social forestry means we are going to take a sapling, plant them, that too when every day during any function, you want to invite a VIP and they will come over there and you all of you will post for photos. You will hold a plant sapling like this and they will take photo. You will plant it in a area, right? Then you put water and the chief guest will go one side, you will go another side, the plant will sleep on another side. Finish. That is greening of the earth, for which you will spend lot of money. What type of plant we should grow in our institution or wasteland? So why we are growing? What is its purpose? Whether it is we are having a short-term purpose or a long-term purpose, what is the type of soil, what is the climatic conditions, what our students require, what our fellow teachers will require. So all the without bothering all these things, you will bring a desert plant and plant it in evergreen area and evergreen plant it tapping, you will go on to desert plant it in a desert area like as good as. So that way, without scientific approach, if you practice the social forestry, it is of no use. If you really practice it honestly, right, then it is a wonderful means by which we can definitely protect our forest. And conservation of the wild species, even endemic species, endangered species are very, very important as they play an important role in providing the diversity, in providing the greater diversity for mankind. So sometimes even you have to grow non-wood based plants should be grown as energy plantations. For example, bamboo. Bamboos can be grown as energy plantations for proper utilization and management. So such type of things should be encouraged. And land degradation due to mining activities should be totally stopped. And you should not allow the cattle to graze or browse in the forest area. So you should allow that. You should see that the forest tree crops should not be destroyed. You should not push your cattle into somebody's land to graze or browse. So if you do that one, you are going to lose your biodiversity. Then we know that during summer, so there will be what? Evaporation of the water. So you must see that water level in the pools, ponds, etc. should be maintained, and the destructive activity of the poacher should be totally curbed. And these water level in the pools and ponds, etc., they provide the what? Life for many aquatic organisms. So these aquatic organisms or aquatic life should not be destroyed, should not be destroyed. So water level has to be there. If all the water gets evaporated, the aquatic life will be totally destroyed. So that is why stabilization of water is important. To have a stabilization of water in pools, ponds, etc., the forest, that is deforestation activity, should be totally stopped, totally curbed. Okay, so that is what one should practice. Of course, establishment of various measures has taken by both government organizations and non-government organizations. So they have established biosphere. There are various means or methods like establishment of the wildlife sanctuary, national park, mangroves, protected landscapes, protected forests. So all these are all the methods of preserving and protecting the biotic community, right? That is the living entities. Now, implementation of educational program should be carried out about the conservation and preservation of the species of both plants and animals, flora and fauna. How it had to be created? All the individuals need not be scientifically educated. Through scientific exhibitions, audiovisual methods, through literatures, through photos, through conferences, through interactions, right? See, nowadays in forest, if you go there in the interior of the forest, there are tribes. There are tribes. Tribes, if they get any disorders or diseases, they won't come to an urban area for a doctor. They take care of themselves. So they use certain plants for any specific, whether for if there is a wound cut, if there is a burn, if there is any cold, cough, fever, they get their own plants and they prepare their own method of what we can say medicines, and they get advocated themselves. So that means it is called traditional medicinal practices or ethno-medicinal practices which they have adopted. So tribes are the one which are protecting our forest to the best extent rather than the people who are in the urban areas who are simply making slogans here and there to see that the biodiversity should be conserved. So that is not going to fetch anything until and unless you get down to that is, you should go down to the level of seeing that every species is important and every species should be protected. So whether you are scientifically studied or not, right, you should try to know the importance of each and every species in the natural forest or the wildlife. And to do this, only a botanist or zoologist should not say that, oh, it is my duty or it is his duty like that or environmentalist duty. No, because if you say like that, I will ask you, if the forest has to be protected, it should be the duty of the botanist. Then I will ask all of you, don't respire oxygen because plants will give oxygen, all of you start using carbon dioxide. Is it possible? Now, likewise, because we are living together, right? And our disciplines may be different, but all of us should have a concern, right? To see that our biodiversity and forest should be protected. So it is the duty of every individual, whether you are an engineer or whether you are a forest lover or you are a soil scientist or you are an economist or you are an administrator or you may be a politician, whoever it may be. It is the duty of all the individuals to implement the protection and conservation of this biodiversity or the forest. So for that, you can take various means, coordination, cooperation, interaction, and even if you don't know anything, you can get a lot of information from certain bodies like the IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Wildlife Protection Act, there is World Wildlife Fund. So they are all going to be there. Ultimately, India has become a member of these bodies in order to see that, they should get education, financial support, technical support, scientific advice, all these things. So for that purpose, we should be a member and India has become a member. The question is that there are strict environmental legislation is there and movements have taken place. Narmada Bachao Andolan, Appiko movement, right? All these things. But ultimately, the question is that what should be our ethics? How we should protect our biodiversity? That is what one should think. So we must have an attitude to have sustainable development. What is sustainable development? Judicious utilization of the resources, keeping in view of the future generation. Judicious utilization of our natural resources, keeping in view of our future generation. In other words, it is a harmonious relationship that we have to maintain. How we can maintain, between whom we can maintain, we should have a sound and viable economy, a good governance, and a good feeling of oneness, social cohesion, without any caste, creed, region, religion, barriers. We should feel that. So when you inhale oxygen, it does not carry out any caste, creed, region, religion, place, name. So likewise, you should have all these things and an ecological integrity. Ultimately, in your environment, you should feel that we are all living on and we should live together. So then only you can achieve the sustainable development. So sustainable development is nothing but the economic development, environment protection, and social reformation and people empowerment. So if you strengthen all these parameters, you can definitely have a sustainable development. Otherwise, after cutting a tree, killing the animals, oh, I want to study the impact of this environment, means it is of no use. So you should have, see, look at, so anything, whether it is a food resource or any resource that is going to be there with you, try to share it with for your future generation. You should have the principle of, you should have the ethics of living together. Right? If you don't harm the individual is also not going to harm you. So coexistence, happily, a harmonious relationship should be maintained. Otherwise, it has been said that life has been originated in water, and through the process of evolution, the land animals came to exist like this. So from these land animals, the ancestral man and the modern, man has been evolved. And this man, without protecting biodiversity, destroying the forest, is causing global warming. So that means the sea level rises, and the sea level rises, land mass submerges. So he is going back to the place from where he has been originated. So that is what is the concept. So ultimately, what I can say that in case if you want to protect at least what many species of this biodiversity, so see that you should not pollute, you should not over exploit any resources, you should not harm your the fellow things, what we can say, fellow species in nature and all these things. You must have an attitude, positive attitude for sustainable development. Otherwise, days may not be far away to add one more species to the list of endangered species, that is Homo sapiens. Okay. Thank you all for your patience.